Hey YouTube, there's been a lot of talk about the spot price of gold and silver recently. I've been hearing projections anywhere between $9 per ounce to $900 per ounce for silver. So what the hell's going on here? I can tell you what I think. So the spot price of gold and silver has been declining recently, and a lot of you new stackers out there may be a little worried. But I don't think you have too much to worry about, to be honest. Let me start out talking about good old Johnny Keynes. John Maynard Keynes was an early 20th century economist. Guys like myself who believe in freedom and sound money have been known to give John Maynard Keynes a lot of criticism. And I agree with most of it. But I gotta give the guy a little bit of credit. If there was one thing that Keynes got right, is when he spoke about the animal spirit in the economy. It doesn't matter how horrible the fundamentals are. It doesn't matter how terrible the future events to come are. If people think that the economy is in good shape, if they have the perception of a strong economy, that could hold the market together for a very long time. And Keynes was right about that. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a lot of optimism around the Trump presidency. They think Trump's going to get things back into shape, and we're going to have economic growth, real economic growth. Well, I hate to say it to you, but that's just not going to happen. And Trump has made the mistake of putting his name on this economy, putting the stamp of capitalism on this economy, only to give people false hope. Because there is no way we can get out of the situation that we're in and actually have economic growth without going through some pain. Let me repeat that. We cannot have economic growth in the United States without going through pain first. And that is the message that Trump has failed to communicate. A couple of weeks ago, Trump said that we have the strongest economy in U.S. history. Yeah, that's the same guy that during his campaign was talking about all of the phony economic data. And I agreed with him. I think all the economic data is phony. I think the inflation rate is phony. But the guy gets into office, and then all of a sudden, the economic data is balls on accurate. And the stock market is the strongest it's ever been. It's ridiculous. Kind of like how he criticized the Federal Reserve for being political during his campaign. And then he gets into office, yells at the Federal Reserve for raising interest rates, and complains that they're not political enough. I don't know. I personally think the guy is cartoonishly hypocritical and has a severe lack of understanding of money, unless he's playing stupid. So the economy has not grown. It has not grown under Barack Obama. It is not growing now. You cannot have real economic growth without savings. Savings and investment is what grows an economy. This country has no savings. Any perceived economic growth has not been real economic growth based off of savings. It's been an illusion of economic growth based off of cheap money and credit expansion. The printing of money out of thin air and loaning it out makes people feel rich. But in reality, it really just causes you to go into debt without any productive outcome. So here's the problem. We can't have real economic growth without savings. And we can't have savings without higher interest rates. And we cannot have higher interest rates without imploding the economy, because this country is in so much debt because of the Keynesian pressures of the Federal Reserve with artificially manipulated interest rates and cheap money that no one even had to work for to create. You cannot just create money and loan it out and expect to have economic growth. It doesn't work like that. It needs to come from savings. If it doesn't come from economic growth and it just comes from artificially manipulated interest rates, all you will have is an illusion of economic growth and malinvestment in the economy. A misallocation of resources, because that's what artificially manipulating interest rates does. Interest rates are a price. And just like the price of bread, the price of meat, or the price of silver, the price system is vital to how an economy operates. You need the price system. The players in the market need the price system in order to know how to properly allocate resources. Perfect example. Imagine a natural disaster hits, like a big hurricane or something, and then all of a sudden there is a very low supply of water. It's hard to find water because this hurricane has just hit. What happens? Prices rise. Most people think of this as price gouging. In reality, it's not price gouging, it's supply and demand. See, in the free market, there are no shortages. Prices can simply adjust according to supply and demand. So if you get hit with a natural disaster and there's not a lot of water to go around, prices will simply rise to prevent a shortage. So rather than the first guy walking through the door and buying up all the water, prices rise so we can more evenly disperse the water among multiple people. Because there won't be as much demand if the prices are higher, but there will still be enough to go around to keep people alive. Also, in a situation like that, prices also rise to give entrepreneurs a signal to bring in more supply of that good. All right? Prices rise, it creates an incentive for entrepreneurs in a different area that have water to bring the water in. It creates a supply. That's why there's no shortages in capitalism or the free market. That is how resources are allocated with the price system. And to be honest, that's the main reason why socialism doesn't work. If you ask the average conservative, they'll probably tell you it provides a disincentive to work hard or something like that. And that's very true, but they're missing the largest part of the picture. Socialism doesn't work because you cannot derive prices, you cannot have profit and loss calculation when everyone owns everything. That's why in a lot of socialist countries there's a lot of misallocation of resources. Like in North Korea, you have the capital, Pyongyang, that everybody's living relatively all right, at least to the standards of 1915. And then you have the outskirts of the country where everyone else is starving to death. And the only thing that's keeping them alive is the illegal black capitalist markets. So the price system is vital. And it's no different when it comes to interest rates. See, interest rates are a price as well. They're just the price of money. When the price of money is tampered with through government coercion or through an artificial means, then that causes misallocation of resources in the economy. People don't realize if interest rates keep rising, these malinvestments, this misallocation of resources is going to be exposed. Last time this happened was the financial crisis of 2008. And I think the Fed knows this. That's why they're kicking the can down the road for as long as they can. They don't want interest rates to rise. They're trying to pretend like they want interest rates to rise because they want people to think that we have a strong economy. But the reality is they know, or at least if you're following the Keynesian playbook, they know that they're eventually going to have to cut interest rates and start printing money again. So I'll tell you what's going to happen. When people realize that this magical, illusionary Trump economy isn't as strong as they think it is, when they realize that the Federal Reserve is going to have to reverse course, slash interest rates, probably try to bring them negative, and print trillions and trillions of more dollars, when the public and when the market figures this out, the bottom is going to drop out of the dollar and gold is going to go through the roof. I guarantee you that. It's all about how the people perceive the economy. If everyone understood the situation in the economy right now, if everyone understood money and sound economics like I do, then the economy would have collapsed a while ago. And the price of gold and silver would have already skyrocketed. But see, since the Federal Reserve doesn't really want rates to rise because they know that that will put strain on the economy, on everyone who's in debt, on all the businesses that are in debt, they don't want that to happen. So they are going to keep inflating. I guarantee you that. As soon as the economy starts showing weakness to the point where if they don't do something, then we're going to have a severe deflation. And see, they're going to keep printing money to prevent interest rates from rising. Because if you're printing money and giving it to the banks, then interest rates don't need to be high. Because you don't need to draw from a pool of savings in order to loan it out. You don't need to incentivize people to save with higher interest rates when you're printing the money. So the last thing that the Fed wants is higher interest rates. So I think they're going to keep inflating. I think eventually they will, like I said, reverse course. But what they don't realize is that when this happens, it is going to keep eroding the purchasing power of the dollar. The more dollars you print, the higher supply of dollars without an equal increase in demand equals a lower value, a lower purchasing power of the US dollar. And they don't realize the more they devalue the dollar, the more likely it is for market forces to push interest rates up. So that's what I think is going to happen. They're going to devalue the dollar until the market forces interest rates up. Because interest rates have to rise in order to combat that price inflation. And when this happens, I think that, unfortunately, it's not that I want this to happen. If it was up to me, there is not many things I'd rather see than the people of this country, than this country's economy succeed. So don't think that I want this to happen, because I don't. But what I think is going to happen is that interest rates are going to spike eventually in order to combat the inflation by the Federal Reserve, because Keynesians will be Keynesians and they're not going to stop printing. And when that happens, this country is going to go through the worst inflationary recession that we've ever seen. 1974-75 on steroids. In other words, we're going to go through stagflation. So not only will consumer prices and producer prices be rising, but unemployment will also be high. So not only will you not be able to afford anything, but you won't even have a job to make the little bit of money that you can in order to buy things that you need. This is going to be very scary for people, and they are going to want to buy gold. As soon as the people realize that all this Keynesian nonsense is garbage, and when they realize that the egotistical idiots at the Federal Reserve can't really centrally run an economy like they claim they can, then people are going to go into gold. I believe a lot of the money that the Fed already printed and injected in the market is going to flow out of those markets, and a lot of it is going to flow into gold as well. And I think the same thing is going to keep continuing, that has been continuing for the past 100 years, since the founding of the Federal Reserve. Really, if you want to simplify it, just look at a chart of the purchasing power of the dollar next to a chart of the price of gold since 1913. And that should put your mind at ease. So when is this going to happen, YouTube? I have no idea exactly when. I do know that the longer the Fed kicks the can down the road, the higher inflation will be. And not only will that be good for gold, but when that inflation spikes interest rates and causes that stagflation that I'm talking about, then I think you'll be glad that you own gold. So keep on stacking, YouTube. I try to remain very optimistic. All right? You have to focus on yourself. Focus on your own success. Focus on taking care of your family and building your human capital. Because if you build your human capital and you have skills that are valuable in any market conditions, then you can weather any storm. I guarantee you that the ideas of liberty and sound money will prevail. Until then, be prepared. So thank you, YouTube. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I haven't been able to make a video in a few days. Been a busy man. And I always appreciate everybody commenting as well. There is so many great people in this community, so many great patriots, and I'm proud to be part of it. So thanks a lot, YouTube, and I'll talk to you later.